We come together this morning as one community, students, faculty, staff, alumni, trustees, friends, and honored guests. Your presence reminds us all that Pomfret is more than a beautiful campus, more than the sum of the architecture. It's a living tradition shaped and strengthened by the people who love it and support it. Reaching this moment has taken vision and hard work, and I want to personally thank members of both the search committee, the transition team, for their wisdom and guidance. I also want to recognize our faculty, staff, and students. You are the heart and soul of this institution. To my fellow trustees, thank you for your dedication and unwavering support. And lastly, to all of you here in attendance, I want to express my deep gratitude for the faith and trust you have placed in me. Early in the search, I asked Heather, what are you most excited about leading Pomfret? She didn't answer with facilities or rankings or budgets. Instead, she spoke about students, about listening to them, learning from them. She spoke about a school where every young person feels seen, valued, and challenged. Heather embodies all of the qualities I value in a school leader: a deep respect for education, a commitment to students, an inclusive and collaborative spirit, and the courage to lead with conviction. As chair of the Pomfret School Board of Trustees, it is my great privilege and responsibility to formally and publicly recognize you, Heather Willis Daly, as Pomfret's 13th head of school, the first woman to hold the role. You can applaud now, too. And to our community, let us remember that leadership is never a solitary act. It will take all of us to successfully navigate the promise and the peril of a world rapidly transforming. And yet, I stand before you in this day with gratitude in my heart for everything that has led us to this moment, a deep and abiding hope for the future of this remarkable institution. May this new chapter be filled with wisdom, joy, and an enduring spirit that is Pomfret. And may we all commit to supporting Heather in this journey. Now I'm pleased to invite Heather's mentor and former boss, Ann Klotz, to the podium to share a few words. Ann?
We're going to try this without the sunglasses. Members of the Board of Trustees, faculty and staff, alums, students, other honored guests, good morning. The sun is shining for my beloved Heather. When Heather phoned me this summer to ask me to join her today, I was filled with joy. It was a full circle moment for me. I have just retired from a long headship, and Heather is just beginning. Your first woman head. It's about time. Good job, Pomfret. It's a milestone. And Pomfret, I might add, is a school that is well loved by many members of my own extended family. So I am particularly thrilled to have the opportunity to be with all of you, to congratulate Heather and to help her be officially installed. What a funny participle, installed. It makes me think of plumbing and carpet tacks and electric lights, and perhaps I should have brought a tiny hammer as a prop. It's worth noting that Heather Daly will in fact attend scrupulously to Pomfret's magnificent physical plant, because she is a leader who loves every aspect of school life: students, faculty, staff, alums, parents, trustees, curriculum, sports, extracurriculars, and infrastructure. Occasions that mark the threshold moments in our lives matter. Take a moment to think back to where you were a year ago. Third form, I don't think you were here, and if you were, that's a problem. Seniors, think about where you are now and where you will be at this time next year. Again, if you're still here, we have a situation. What has changed in our lives in the past year, and what has remained the same? If we don't stop to pay attention, life simply whooshes by. So let us mark this moment. Look around at your incredible school. Take a deep breath. Really, I'm a drama teacher, I mean it. Think about Pomfret, about beginnings, first impressions, about being part of a community that cares for you and that you care for. Take a deep breath as we cross over the threshold from one moment in Pomfret's illustrious history to the next moment, one moment in our own lives to the next. Though Heather has been coming to know and love Pomfret for more than a year, and though she started officially as head of school on July 1, today marks one more beginning. A year ago, in her office, through the door of my own office at Laurel School, Heather was dreaming of this school and this role, sipping tea, which is her drink of choice, eating string cheese, her typical breakfast, and sporting her always fabulous shoes. Now, today, not so much, but pay attention because they're typically fabulous. She was anticipating interview questions, parenting her 3 fabulous children, 2 of whom are here today, plus her canine babies, Rackstraw and Moxie, and working in partnership with her beloved husband, Brendan. A year ago, we sat together, hoping. When she first came to campus, she knew this was the school she wanted to lead. And I am so glad the search committee agreed. She's the real deal, and her preparation for this chapter has been thorough and thoughtful. I met Heather many years ago in Cleveland when our son enrolled at Hawkins School, where she was the director of enrollment. Soon after, we served together on an accreditation team, the peculiar details of which I will spare you. Suffice to say, we bonded during our 3 days in that unusual stay in a school. I was impressed by her insight, her smarts, her humor, her tact, and the way in which she stood for reality. She doesn't lose her cool. She remains both steady and elegant in most circumstances, and she has a tremendous sense of humor. Fast forward, and she left Ohio for the first time to serve at St. Andrew's School. But I lured her back, first as my assistant and then as my associate head of school at Laurel. I knew she wanted to lead a school, and I was determined to help her. Heather was hungry to learn as much as she could about leadership, so I included her in every decision we made, every sticky wicket, and there are plenty of them when you're a head of school. Every time I asked her to take on another responsibility, she said yes without hesitation. Serve as a middle school dean during a maternity leave? Sure thing. Oversee athletics and spirit days and travel and admissions and financial aid and summer programming and our environmental justice semester and college guidance? Thrilled to be of use. Straighten out a huge paperwork mess having to do with transportation? On it, no sweat. Supervise the school nurse, who was a lot, and organize first aid and CPR training for 200 reluctant adults? Why not? Order 1 million water bottles for a spirit day that a hurricane canceled? No problem. And it should be noted, she found a way to distribute those bottles over the course of the year and assign points to our green and white spirit teams as she did it. Cope with obtaining obscure state certification for our outdoor campus, including managing a mountain of paperwork and the display of an American flag of very specific dimensions. You bet. Take on an upper school advisory? She'd be delighted. Keep track of 1 million agendas, schedule 1 million meetings, and remind me of things I had forgotten? That was one of her superpowers. Chair the Safety and Security Committee? Certainly. Keep the strategic plan moving forward. Yes, yes, yes. Sound like Superwoman? My theory is that if you want things done well, ask the busiest person you know to take them on. And in my experience, though this is a big gender generalization, it is often a woman. Heather's ability to manage many situations at once is slightly uncanny. Her portfolio of responsibilities was endless, and she managed all of them with signature equanimity. Kind, calm, curious, empathetic, Heather was an exceptional thought partner as I deliberated on any important decision. She listened deeply and responded thoughtfully. She never interrupts. She was never afraid to challenge me, though, if she thought I might be making a mistake. Her questions gently revealed her concern that I might be getting myself into big trouble. In her 3 years at Laurel, she also earned the respect and affection of her colleagues. Here is what some of her Laurel pals wanted me to tell you about Heather. Their love comes with me as I stand before you today. Steady and clear-headed, Heather lifts others as she leads, stays calm under pressure, celebrates her colleagues and community generously, and loves a good spreadsheet, both endearing in and of itself and reflective of her skill organizing and communicating complex strands of information with ease. What I always appreciated and admired about Heather, this is another colleague, was the reasoned and thoughtful way she approached any challenging situation. She's smart, really, really smart. And while her intelligence guides her, it is the compassionate way in which she leads that will always be remembered. Pomfret is so lucky to have her. And a third, a thoughtful and principled leader who brings both vision and care to all she does. Heather listens deeply, thinks strategically, and acts with integrity. She has a remarkable ability to see the best in people, to build bridges across different perspectives, and to inspire others to rise to their potential. Secretly, I reached out to members of Heather's advisory, students in grades 10 and 11, now 11 and 12, to see what they might want to add. Reese says, I had the privilege of being in Mrs. Daly's advisory, which was the highlight of every week. Mrs. Daly's constant warmth and care meant more than she'll ever know. Her little acts of kindness, such as making us cookies and showing up to basketball games, never went unnoticed. I'm a tad bit jealous of those who get to have her as their head, but know she will impact so many more lives in the same way she did mine. Lulu adds, Mrs. Daly is such a compassionate educator and amazing role model. Talking to her makes me feel so understood and heard. She has the kindest heart and always reminded me to see the good in the world and in the people inhabiting it. Finally, Ellie says, usually when I've met my advisors in the past, there's this awkward 2 weeks where we all sit around and the advisor asks questions and we respond with as little information as possible. That never happened in our advisory. We had elaborate conversations, learning more about each other every time we met. Mrs. Daly shared stories about her kids, opening her home to us, and making us feel loved. I'll never forget the feeling in your advisory, Mrs. Daly, the snacks you brought when we needed them most, and the gator we threw around the room as a talking stick. You guys have a griffin, we had a gator. I miss you so much, but could not be prouder of where you are now. Good luck at Pomfret, even though I know you won't need it. As a lifelong English teacher, I had planned to share with you today Marge Piercy's amazing poem, To Be of Use. But Heather scooped me, sharing it at the opening faculty meeting. I commend it to all of you. It's taped on the wall outside of her office. Go give it a read. Instead, I turned to the Irish poet John O'Donoghue for inspiration, in part because Heather is besotted with the Irish heritage she married into. This poem is for Heather and for all of us starting something new. A new school year, a new sport, a new language, a new subject, a new adventure. For a New Beginning by John O'Donoghue. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight, when your courage kindled and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again, with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. Hold nothing back, my dear Heather. Soon you will be at home in the rhythm of headship and at home here in bucolic Connecticut at Pomfret School. I know your clear, wise leadership will serve Pomfret well. You love boarding school life, having advisories over to the house, cheering on the Griffins. This is the right school and the right time and the right leader. On the occasion of my own installation as head of Laurel, so long ago that none of you as students in the audience were even born, my dear friend Collier O'Connor, now here head of the American School in Mexico, closed his remarks at my installation with an admonition that I want to share with all of you. Take good care of my friend. Support her. Tell her a joke. Make her eat lunch slowly. Trust her instincts. Don't forget, she's a daughter, a sister, a wife, and a mother. Her success in these roles is important, and I would suggest vital to her success as your head of school. Like the mythological griffin who is your mascot, Heather Daly will lead Pomfret with wisdom and majesty. She will protect and serve this school with humility and vision and clarity and inspiration. It is my privilege to be her friend. Thank you. Now, it is my great pleasure to welcome School President William Leary, Vice President Crosby Price, and Honor Board members Leila Boland and Rafael Reyes to the podium for a reading, and, in a remarkable moment of serendipity, their reading too is by Irish poet John O'Donoghue.
For a Leader by John O'Donoghue. May you have the grace and wisdom to act kindly, learning to distinguish between what is personal and what is not. May you be hospitable to criticism. May you never put yourself at the center of things. May you act not from arrogance, but out of the service. May you work on yourself, building and refining the ways of the mind.
May those who work for you know you see them and respect them. May you learn to cultivate the art of presence in order to engage with those who meet you. When someone fails or disappoints you, may the graciousness with which you engage be their stairway to renewal and refinement.
May you treasure the gifts of the mind through reading and creative thinking, so that you continue as a servant of the frontier, where the new will draw its enrichment of the old, and you never become a functionary. May you know the wisdom of deep listening, the encouragement of an appreciative gaze, the decorum of held dignity, the springtime edge of the bleak question.
May you have a mind that loves frontiers, so that you can evoke the bright fields that lie beyond the view of the regular eye. May you have good friends to mirror your blind spots. May leadership be for you a true adventure of growth.
Thank you, readers. It's my honor to welcome to the stage Pomfret's 13th head of school, Heather Willis Daly.
Good morning, Pomfret. Thank you, Crosby, Layla, Raph, and Will for that reading. I love those words by John O'Donoghue about leadership. As I embark upon this journey as Pomfret's head of school, I am grateful to the four of you and the leadership roles you hold on campus, along with so many others of your peers. I'd like to thank Darrell Bost for his kind words, as well as his partnership over these past months as I have stepped into this role. It's exciting to begin our tenures together with someone with such integrity and a deep sense of service to this school. I'm grateful to Darrell and the Board of Trustees for entrusting me with this role, and look forward to our work together as we build upon the foundation of so many individuals who have made Pomfret what it is today, from William Peck to Tim Richards. Tim is another person to whom I'm grateful for the time he gave to meeting with me throughout the past year to ensure my transition would be as smooth as possible. I'd be remiss if I didn't also thank the members of the search and transition committees for their part in bringing me to Pomfret. I'd also like to thank my friend and mentor Ann Klotz for her kind words. How lucky I have been to be in your light. More to come about Ann later on. To my mom, Beth Willis, for being here today. She is a lifelong educator and was my very first teacher, even if I was never in her classroom. Her love, hard work, and dedication to my sisters and to me is something that I've carried in my heart throughout all chapters of my life. My sister Laura is also here. We are 15 months apart in age, followed by our younger twin sisters, Colleen and Megan. The four of us were collectively known in our very small hometown in upstate New York while we were growing up as the Willis sisters. To understand the full story of who I am today, you'd need to journey back to the foundation of our childhood together, catching crayfish in the stream across from our house, spending summers at the beach in the town park, or confusing and confounding opposing teams when all of us competed on the field hockey and soccer teams of Weebatuck High School together. To my husband, Brendan, who's been a constant source of support and encouragement over the course of our lives together. Thank you is not an adequate enough phrase. I would not be here today without your encouragement, wise words, support, and love. From our many moves from California to Ohio to Delaware, back to Ohio and Pennsylvania, and now to Pomfret, Connecticut, with 3 children and 2 dogs in the mix, I'm so glad you took the bet and juggled that soccer ball from one end of the field to the other to secure our first date. And I will let you in on a little secret. I would have said yes, even if you hadn't been successful, because sometimes you just know when you've found a good one. To my children, Austin, Elsbeth, and Bridget. To Austin, who unfortunately, due to a canceled flight, is not here. And to Bridget and Elsbeth, I want to thank them for journeying from Virginia and North Carolina for a 20-hour trip to Connecticut and an hour-long ceremony in which your mom talks for 10 minutes. I love each of you unconditionally, and I am so proud of who you have been, who you are, and who you are becoming. As happy as I am to be Pomfret's head of school, being your mom is the biggest honor I will ever have. I have talked about the fact that I did not go to a school like Pomfret. I graduated from my local public high school where my mother taught before heading off to Wellesley College. And while I did not go to boarding school, I have spent the last 30 years working in independent schools, and each of those experiences has shaped my perspectives, taught me lessons about education and leadership, and ultimately led me here to Pomfret. I've had incredible mentors along the way, from my first boss at Santa Catalina, Meriwether Beatty, who taught me about what excellence looked like in admissions, as well as amazing colleagues and friends in each school who I've learned from, laughed with, and shared incredible accomplishments, including one who came here today as an educational consultant on Today of All Days. I have been lucky enough to work with amazing heads of school, Sister Carlotta and Sister Claire at Santa Catalina, who dedicated their lives to the school. Scott Looney at Hawken, where I gained firsthand experience in how mission-driven change and innovation can be a catalyst for growth in schools. St. Andrews, where I worked for Tad Roach, who was an extraordinary orator and fervent believer in the extraordinary power of a small boarding school setting. And Joy McGrath, who I got to witness stepping into headship. And then there is Ann Klotz, my head at Laurel School. A mentor and friend before I ever worked for her, Ann shared her wisdom with me, as she did for many other women over the course of her 40-year career in schools. In fact, it was about 20 minutes after she met me that Ann abruptly halted our conversation, looked at me, and asked, "Now when are you going to become a head of school?" It was the first time anyone had even suggested that possibility, and the first time I'd even considered the question. I remember answering that I'd always thought of myself as Robin rather than Batman. But here's the thing. Everyone needs people in their lives who can look at them and see possibilities of what they are capable of, even if that person can't see it for themselves at the time, which is one of the things I think that is most beautiful about our school settings. Anne did that for me, which is why, when an opening came up for an assistant head role at Anne's school, I decided to apply. I was lucky enough to be hired, and from there had the chance to grow in different areas of school leadership, alongside Anne and our colleague Rachel Herline, who served as Laurel's other assistant head of school. When the position paper for Pomfret was posted in the spring of 2024 to be head of school, I was immediately intrigued. I'd known of the school throughout my work in admissions for many years and had friends and former colleagues who were alums and spoke in glowing terms about their time on the hilltop. I loved what I read about a small, student-centered New England boarding school with a kind and unpretentious community, with innovative programs that were delving into competency-based learning. I saw the momentum of the Amplify campaign with the completion of VISTA and the work that had been done to advance teaching and learning, as well as access and affordability, a topic that has been near and dear to my heart throughout my time in schools. With each stage of the interview process, there were signs along the way that perhaps Pomfret was where I was meant to be. As I told the faculty in our opening meetings after completing my semifinalist interview, I left the hotel where those interviews were held for a quick walk, literally looked up at the street sign to get my bearings, and saw that the cross street of the hotel was Claflin Street, the name of the dorm I lived in for all 4 years at Wellesley. My interview on campus last September confirmed my initial instincts about Pomfret and cemented my desire to be here. How lucky was I to get the call from Daryl Bost offering me this opportunity. Numerous people have asked me about what it means to be the first female head of school at Pomfret, and at times I have struggled to adequately put this honor into words. I grew up in a family of all girls with 2 parents who believed in us and encouraged our talents and abilities in a world that didn't always offer that message to girls and women. I then had the incredible opportunity to spend 4 years at Wellesley, where I was surrounded by amazing women and a legacy of remarkable alumni who were talented, capable, and ambitious. It is my hope that in serving in this role, students and adults of all genders at Pomfret see a woman leader with authenticity, humor, and integrity. I hope to enable others to grow in their ambitions in the same way that I've been giving those opportunities throughout my career. While almost 70% of teachers in independent schools are women, only 45% of heads of school are. And by the way, the number of heads of color of any gender who are people of color is just 15%. Representation matters in our student body, our faculty and staff, and our leadership. There is still work to do in our schools. I am proud to count myself as one of the 13 individuals who have led or leading Pomfret School. I am proud to be the first woman, and I hope that someday there will be others who come after me. I would say that we live in a time when the magical alchemy of a life-changing experience of a small boarding school community like Pomfret's, where students come together from different backgrounds and perspectives to live, learn, and grow, is more needed than ever. In these tumultuous times in which civility and discourse has unraveled, I am heartened by the ways in which our school leans into these practices and will always endeavor to hold us to them. In these first early days at Pomfret, I've enjoyed experiencing traditions such as Sundial, Form Olympics, and the third form working together to go over the wall at the adventure course during Quest. I might have shed a few tears at that moment. I've been inspired by the stories, challenges, and life lessons of our seniors in their chapel talks. I've felt the joy in school meetings and had my days brightened by the students who stopped by my office to say hello, tell me about their days, add a piece to the Lego puzzle, or grab a piece of candy or a donut. I've savored the walks to and from campus with the residents of Freshman Circle, meals in the dining room with colleagues, and the views of the hills at sunset. Since starting at Pomfret in July, I've been trying to learn about the history of our school. To mark the centennial of the school's founding in 1994, which is the year I graduated from college, the school's trustees commissioned a book outlining the history of Pomfret, which I've been periodically reading. In the foreword of that book, Barclay Robinson Jr., who was at that time the chair of the Board of Trustees, wrote, "Like every teacher and student, every headmaster has made and left his mark on Pomfret School. Inevitably, with time, we shall say her mark." While it's still too early to know what my mark will be, I am filled with pride to know that the time Robinson alluded to is here. Thank you for entrusting me with the honor and responsibility of leading Pomfret in this next chapter. With the help of so many of you who are gathered here today, students, faculty, staff, trustees, and alumni, I'm excited to imagine the possibilities of what's to come. Thank you. So please join me in welcoming Zihen Henry Chen to the stage to perform Grande Valsa Brillante by Frédéric Chopin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Henry, for offering your amazing musical touch to this special occasion. I've had the privilege of hearing Henry play so many times in school life, but I've never gotten to watch his hands like I just did. Wow. And though you couldn't feel it, trust me, the stage was rocking over here. It was a good time. Also, on behalf of the many people who've made this event this morning possible, thank you all. And thank you all for joining us this morning for Heather's installation as Pomfret's 13th head of school. Before I offer the words of benediction, I want to extend the invitation for all employees and students and guests to join us for lunch in the main house, and board members and Heather's family and guests, please remain here near the stage briefly after to take some photographs. Over the past 2 decades, these words of benediction have become a familiar way for our school community to end our chapel gatherings and oftentimes other big moments as well. Words attributed to the late Swiss philosopher Henri Amiel, who penned this tender message in his own diary that was recovered by friends following his death. For us, it's been a steady reminder through time about the nature of our lives, all of us, and an invitation to live in ways that celebrate the gifts we discover here and in the world in deep communion with one another. Heather, through your leadership, relationships, and life unfolding here at Pomfret, may you too be rooted in this principle of loving fellowship. And it is in this spirit that I offer these closing words of benediction now. And I invite all who are able to stand for the words of benediction. Dear friends, we know that life is short, and we do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who travel with us. So be swift to love and make haste to be kind. Let it be.